Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I want to talk Lakers, but the thing about it is, I don't know that anything that I haven't already said um, is any more of a point than what I would make right now. The team struggled, to say the least, and we've sat here and watched them over the last several games run a small lineup, and Darvin Ham. I was able to listen to his presser after the last game, and his explanation, I thought, brought up something that would allow me to provide some content. And what he was essentially giving us in regards to an explanation for what we was trying was he was just trying to throw things up against the wall to see if something would stick. And the most important thing for us to do is to try to play fast. That is what he was saying, and I thought that was important because when you're trying to play fast, normally, you definitely want to give yourself obviously enough foot speed. And I know we're limited, so some of the players that we have, Wenyen Gabriel, I consider a pretty fast player. Austin Reeves, he's fast. You know, um, some of the guys that he didn't have on the floor, I think can keep up with the pace that he's looking for them to keep up with. Now I know Thomas Bryant is a little slow-footed. Damian Jones would rather not play, but I don't think Wenyen Gabriel is a deterrent for that. Obviously, Austin was on the floor for the small guard lineups, but a guy like Max Christie is probably more so a sweet medium for everything that he's looking for, and he's the one guy that he didn't play, and that's why it's hard to really look at what he's saying and buy it, because it's like, all right, you want to be fast, but you're going up against big. This is a team that doesn't really run too much. Now, they did get out in the fast break more so this year than they did in the playoffs last year. That was one of their deficiencies. But nevertheless, we kind of ran to the detriment of everything we were looking at. So if the object of the game is to throw something at the wall and to play fast, I don't know that we threw anything at the wall that helped us with what it is we were looking at. We might have been able to be a little quicker out there, but I don't know that it made much of a difference as it pertains to beating the Dallas Mavericks on Christmas Day. Like, I don't think that was what we needed to focus on. Speed wasn't really necessarily the problem. The issue was size, rebounding, all the size stuff, rim protection, and then, of course, perimeter defense, which is a natural deficiency to our team. And putting small players on the floor is a direct detriment to that because, of course, they can't guard the perimeter no better than some of these slower big dudes can if they can't reach up high enough to contest the shot. Guys are just shooting over people as if they're not even there. And that's exactly what we saw. Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, he didn't have any hand in his face in most of the shots he took. Same with Reggie Bullock. I mean, the guys that were trying to guard him, I guess they were in front of him sometimes, but usually the positioning was so poor down there because guys were so demoralized by the fact that they were getting their butt kicked and it thrown away a lead. I mean, did that not come into play in regards to what we're trying to, figure out? It's like you're demoralizing your team. They're losing desire to play defense because they know their effort doesn't amount to anything. Are we not seeing that? Because that's what I saw. So for me, it's like, Darvin, you're a rookie coach. And, I've been on this camera ready to hold everybody who hired him accountable because it seems to me that they're trying to scapegoat him. But for the sake of the conversation, just in case, if he is to be held accountable for what we're seeing there, his explanation didn't really make me feel a whole lot better. Trying stuff is trying stuff. I get that. Whatever. But certain things you understand you're on a professional floor. You understand it's Christmas Day. You understand you're on the road. You understand you're going up against a team that was a playoff team last year. You understand you have playoff aspirations. You understand you're missing your best player. You understand that your team is trying to make trades. It's all these different things that really, really are leaning upon you having the players on the floor who are down there displaying their best self on that day. If you want to try something, that probably isn't the day to try it. A 5-guard lineup situation that you hadn't tried on the basketball floor. Obviously, I don't know what you've tried in practice, but this should probably have not been something you run on this floor. Now, here's the thing that I can give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's not a very good one, but I'll throw it out there just for the sake of throwing it. As I said, the Dallas Mavericks last year had a certain identity about them. They didn't particularly have a whole lot of size on the floor. They ran a bunch of forwards to a degree themselves. They didn't have Christian Wood out there last year. So I could see where one would think you could run some smaller lineups against that Dallas Mavericks from last season and have some success. But this year's Dallas Mavericks team has an entirely different look, and so on and so forth. So that's about the only thing I can give him, is maybe he was scouting last year's Mavericks and just assumed they were kind of the same and just kind of thought some things. But even throughout the course of a game, you get to a third quarter of a game, you know who's on the floor. You can clearly see that's not who last year's team was, or to assume that would be the best way to strategize against that squad that day. So I just don't have any bail to shoot him. Honestly, there's nothing there. And as I look at the public sentiment, I realize that I'm just not alone. You know what I mean? And that's a thing, because a lot of times, I'll just turn on the camera before I even look at what everybody else is talking about. I'm giving you raw reaction most of the time. So, I wait a day or so and I listen to the sentiment. And sometimes, if not most of the time, I hear people speaking the way I'm speaking or seeing things in a similar way. I mean, it's there to see, It's not like I'm deciphering something special when I look at the Lakers. At the end of the day, you're not going to give yourself much of a support system if you do things like this to this franchise after we went through the season we just had last year. And I do make that point a lot, because I think it has a lot to do with how frustrated we are with what we're seeing. Small ball is something that I'd imagine has worked in other organizations. Teams have had the right personnel for it, and it's looked really good at some point. I'm sure it has. But as long as I've watched the Lakers, we've never had any success with our small ball lineups in any era, ever. We just don't know it to work for us. Now, if you can get us a personnel of talent that can make it so that small ball makes sense, or it looks good, or that it can be so overwhelmingly successful that we see it in a light that we haven't seen it, then cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't know of any teams that have really run it that successful, though. I think of a team like Houston who did it. I didn't like it when they did it, and it didn't work. When they removed Clint Capella from the lineup and thought they were just going to run a bunch of guards for the whole season, I mean, they made the best of it. Don't get it twisted. They were a formidable squad with James Harden and Chris Paul. I think that's how that went. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Paul era when they did this. But as far as I could tell, that was the only real small ball team that ever had any playoff success. I look at the Golden State Warriors, and that is an illusion. They are not a small ball team. Draymond Green has been there the entire time. He's not a small ball anything. He doesn't shoot the three at all. He is a traditional big. And so was JaVale McGee. So was Andrew Bogut. You know what I'm saying? They've had centers on this team. So the notion that you can run a bunch of guards and have any real success, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know. I've never seen it work. And for me, in the NBA, and I've just kind of looked at this over the last 24 hours. It's not something I've been speaking too much. But this is how I'm looking at it now. To me, it looks like a tanking mechanism. That's all it really does, as far as I could tell. I don't see no benefit to it on this level. Now, if you run it in AAU, maybe against some of your little kids or something, or if you have a lesser level of play, when you run it against guys in the YMCA, probably it may have a different effect. But in the NBA, I don't understand it. I've never seen it, because at the end of the day, you're going up against really tall people who are really talented. So if you're not able to secure rebounds or have any rim protection, and if they don't have anything contesting their shots, they're too accurate at this level to have any success without having somebody actually put a hand in their face. You see what I'm saying? It's like that Tim Hardaway thing we were talking about. Everybody who was shooting, who was trying to guard him, he could see straight over it. At that level, the league is too talented. You can't I can't see it working. You know what I mean? On anywhere. And so for me, it's like all you're doing is tanking. When you do that, all you're doing is telling us that you're throwing in the towel. You might as well just pull all the starters and put the last line of defense in when you do something like that, as far as I can see. And I'm an open-minded person when it pertains to the sport. Like, obviously, I didn't play it at no high level. You know what I mean? So I've been watching this level my whole life. I've done the whole video game thing, and of course played it. You know, as a little kid and stuff like that. But nothing real. So I respect that this game is something I don't think I have the best strategy mindset or whatever when it comes to this game. But when it comes to looking at what teams are doing wrong and seeing what's working and what's not, I have a keen eye for that. That it ain't hard to tell, man. And so when you see the Lakers having issues guarding the perimeter, you see them having issues with lane because that is part of it. You see them not being able to rebound the ball extraordinarily well. And you hear your coach talking about he wants to play faster and run small ball. But here's another thing about this small ball thing that I don't get. If you're running small ball, you obviously think that your players can shoot. Because, if a shorter player is going to go on the inside, obviously they're going to have their disadvantages, right? I mean, clearly, the best thing for a small person to do is either get in there and do teardrops or shoot from further away, right? Because they ain't going to have no success in the paint unless they can jump out the gym or they're extraordinarily strong or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, if they're particularly short and they're going up against taller people, ain't no paint work for them. Everybody's a rim protector for you. So with our team having the deficiency of three-point shooting, if that's our main deficiency, which it is, then why are we going small? We're playing into our worst deficiency. You would think that with what we think we may be giving up, if Coach Ham thinks we're giving up so much by going with Wenyen Gabriel and Thomas Bryant in terms of speed, right? If he thinks we're giving up so much in that way, is it more than what you're giving up when you consider the disadvantages you have playing small? You can't rebound. You can't block shots. You can't contest shots even. And you can't shoot. So what are you fast to? You're running all the way down there to get blocked at the rim, dude. Because everybody's taller than you. So all you're doing is hoping to draw fouls with guys that are not particularly great free throw shooters either. So for me, it's like when you deduce what it is that you're looking at, it's like, all right, how many pros and cons do we have with what he's going with? There are so many cons to playing five guards versus going the conventional route and just going with the fact that some of these guys just may not be that talented, that you have to look at him and ask him, if you're throwing something at the wall, what are you trying to avoid? Because what you're going to find is probably more success than what is you're attempting to do. So it's like, it don't make no sense, man. It just comes down to people not really knowing what they're doing, choosing the wrong things, not having the right things in their mind, or what have you, man. And so that's why I look at the situation and say, I try to look past that. I say, all right, last year we had the same issue with Frank Vogel. And I pride myself on understanding that coincidences and patterns and things like that, sometimes, especially when it's a lot of money involved, it ain't no coincidence. The pattern is there and it's put there for a reason. And I just think the Laker organization, with its chaotic and its purposefully misdirected as who to blame would be. And I know that's a weird way of wording it, but you don't know who to blame in the situation for what it is, who to hold accountable for what it is. You can just see where the environment for all of that could be the case, where they would put a coach out front, tell him to run some stuff that they know is not going to work, and then proceed to watch him be blamed for it and just sit back and say, yeah, and this is why our problems are so horrible, because our coach just could not get it right. And you really told him if he didn't do this, then he would fire him or something like. It's like, you put coaches in that situation just to make yourself not look bad when you continue to make incompetent decisions. It's like, that is just low. That's really low. So if that's what they're doing, I can't get behind it as a fan. And there's not many things that make all of this make sense. More so than that right there. That they're just scapegoating yet another coach, while they sit on a team that they know is not good enough, but can gross them enough money to make it worth it to just sit there and be bad. And it's sad because and we always say, it's about the fans. We the ones that have to pay for it. And so You know, I'm just looking at Jeannie Buss and I'm saying, this is not how your dad would have run this thing. This is not even the way you said you wanted to run this thing 3 years ago. How did we get here? How did we let it get to this point where we don't even care about winning? We're just trying to get an extra buck. If we're that away from where we need to be financially to keep up with the league, to where we got to just throw seasons to sit on LeBron James and we're so broke we can't even bring him what he needs, because that's what it sounds like is happening right now. And Jeannie, you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? This is not one of them situations where we can even pretend like this is not as bad as it looks. Especially when people are coming in with the type of money that's coming into the league, you just can't sustain, friend. You're not gonna be able to. That's the ugly truth about all of this. You know, they just priced people like Jeannie out the league, man. And you bring in big, huge whales that have BlackRock money. Like, how the heck are they supposed to keep up with these people, man? Like, you can't. You know, next is probably gonna be oil tycoons coming in from overseas. It's like you can't keep up with these guys. American billionaires, it's impossible. Like you know what I'm saying? They have a different type of money. So it's like Jeannie's gonna have to either find a way to keep up with them dudes somehow, strike it super wealthy off of something, because she keeps kicking it down the road with this kind of thing, and you're just parlaying the inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, this will keep you up for a time, but Bron's gonna walk away, and then what? You still gonna be trying to keep up with the dude who just bought the Suns, the Golden State people, Ballmer, obviously. Them three alone is like, man. And you know it's gonna be more. You know it's gonna be more, because more people are gonna be exiting for the same exact reason. They can't keep up with them dudes. So that's inevitable. That's where it's headed, man. This is exactly where it's headed. There's gonna be more money coming into the league, but it's gonna take more to keep it going. That's what it seemed like to me. And it's gonna be just a need for people to get it right. And that's why I say, for me, it's like, look, the money for people who are trying to compete with those whales and super whales is in the fundamentals of the sport, man. It's not in cutting corners business wise. It's outsmarting the hell out of everybody else, because no matter what they put together, they still got to get the X's and O's right. No matter what they put together, they still got to out-science everybody else. You know what I mean? But if the whole thing is rigged to hell, which is really what it's looking like to me, the whole league is rigged, then there's no evolution of the game at all through this environment. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like that. It's just going to be this for a long time. Basically, you're just going to see manufactured superstars, and it's going to turn into a WWE type deal. And so I'm like, all right, man. All right, I don't like it. I would rather owners like Jeannie still be in charge of this thing, still have opportunities to compete. Because once the big whale money comes in, it's really just about money. They ain't gonna even care about the sport. They might have dudes running around throwing footballs into the rim soon enough. Like it could get ridiculous once it starts becoming about that. So, you know, that's really what it is. That's what you're fighting against. If whether you know it or not, people, that's exactly what you're fighting against. It's the, you know, just complete drenching and just drowning out of the actual sport that we're watching. This is the beginning of the end of it if we keep on this path. It's not like people are gonna get rich off cheating and say, oh, let's turn to integrity. No, they're gonna get worse. They're gonna continue this process. So, you know, that's why those of us who love it just gotta speak out, man. Right is right. And at the end of the day, if you did things correctly, then history will be kind to you, and so will your results. You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to. Eventually, the math is going to fall apart when it comes to cheating the game and trying to fudge the numbers and all that. Eventually, you're just going to be looked at as the phony that you are. And it's going to be that way. And basketball will likely continue to prevail. People still going to play the sport all over the world. But the NBA is just going to find themselves with competition, unless they get back to the fundamentals and understand what made people fall in love with the game in the first place. It wasn't Steph Curry, to be honest with you. It wasn't watching people do incredible stuff that was just impossible to do. It was watching people compete, you know what I mean, and bring the game to that level. You understand what I'm saying? A guy like Steph Curry had to watch people and learn and derive from in order to get his to tap into the talent that he ultimately had. You know what I mean? And those are the people who understood what it was really about, man. just competing, doing what you have to do, battling, and all of that, man. And so for me, it's like I love watching the athletes. I believe, like I said earlier, a lot of these guys can compete the hard way. They're going out there throwing it around. They can do it, but the NBA and their referees and their whole agenda, it's in the way, man. It is absolutely in the way, and that has been my message all dang day. And so as I look at Darvin Ham, he's trying to explain the unexplainable. It's like, bro, there's nothing that you could say to us to help us understand why the hell you ran 5 guards out there. Because at the end of the day, nobody who knows the sport is going to run 5 guards against the Dallas Mavericks on Christmas Day. Nobody's going to do that. You have to either not know what the hell you're doing or have somebody telling you to do the wrong thing. And I think it's the latter. I really do. And so I'm frustrated with it. I'm listening to Darvin, and I'm just watching him say what he has to say, man. I watched Frank Vogel do it last year. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of this, Genie. I am tired of this. You know, and for my thing is like, I like the Buss family a lot. You know, Jesse and Joey, I think those guys are gifted basketball minds. That's what makes this so ridiculous. You know, they are really, really talented aside from anything and everything. Those guys just got it. They know what they're doing. They got their daddy's mind for the game. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we could just let those guys have a bit more power as it pertains to how this thing is structured, I think Laker, they should be happy, man. I don't think we have to go too far. I really don't. And I think Genie would be wise to take a look at that. You know, sometimes it's like, yeah, we had some issues with family or whatever. Yeah, it didn't go well with the other brother, but you look to the right, you got some really good brothers there, you know. And it's like, maybe they can help. Maybe we're listening to the wrong people. Maybe it's as simple as listening to the people who are watching the players every day. And I believe if you listen to them a little more and let them have a little more say-so in what it is that's going on down there, I'm willing to bet your team would be better right there. Just by empowering your very own kin. You know, like, just good old nepotism. Honestly, I don't think you have to go too far. Them dudes is good, man. They're really good at what they do. Every one of the players that we got on this team on the second round or undrafted who's popped has been because they told us, hey, yo, this is the guy. Let's get him. Them and their team of scouts, everybody that they've got around them, they're doing some of the best scouting work in the league, top 5 in the entire NBA. And Genie, I just want you to allow them to do that. What it is that they do. Get them a bunch of draft picks, and let's see them throw something at the wall. You feel me? If I'm gonna lean on somebody's instincts, let it be somebody who's proven to have been successful with their instincts. With all due respect to Darvin Ham and what he's telling us. That ain't, you know, them instincts don't work, man. Those are betraying us. But those 2 Buss brothers, I believe, and their team of scouts can help this franchise find the talent through the draft that will ultimately pop and get us back to where we can at least feel really good about ourselves. It's not like we expect to draft the best player ever in the history of the sport with our very next pick. It doesn't necessarily have to go that way. But we have done so much with those second rounders and undrafted stuff. We have done so much. And I just think that that's the one place we haven't looked in terms of how about we try to focus our direction in terms of a franchise into that. Let's see what these guys can do over the next several drafts. Let's try to get them as many first round picks. Usable, not looking to trade type picks that they can actually draft and scout in the first round, in the lottery, and let's see what they can bring us, man. I really think that was a good way to go. And, you know, I mean, everything else has already been said. You know, Jeanie Buss has to clean house. She's going to have to clean house. She's going to have to clean house. She's got to look at who's in place, ask herself if she trusts them to make decisions that are going to affect this team's future, and look at the evidence of what she's seen over the last 5 years and answer that question. That's what you got to do. You got to look at what it tells you. What does it say? How good and how bad has your team been? And so she'll have to assess that for herself. And that's what it really comes down to, because we can pressure her. I've looked on her IG, as I said to you guys, I had posted on there. Everybody was bashing her, telling her she needs to sell the team and all that. And look, that's like a last resort for what you can, you know, if you can't help the team. That's what it is that we're going to ask you to do. But I don't think that that's what's going on. When I look at those scouts, I don't think that we need to do anything like that. I just think we need to get some people away from the situation that they're in place right now, who are trying to bring us Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. Whoever's agenda that is, they got to stop, man. They really got to take that to another franchise and understand the Lakers can't afford that. We cannot afford that, okay? Never mind my opinion of Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. Forget my opinion. The Lakers cannot afford another superstar. We can't afford the two we have. So let's be real about that. Let's not only be real about that, but let's not allow people who are continuing to tell us that that's something to want to have credibility anymore. Okay? If they know what they're talking about, then they know they're not selling us something that we can responsibly hold. And that's what it's about. I'm tired of this conversation about, well, Bradley Beal can fit. Zach can fit. Of course they can fit. Everybody can fit if they have a certain skill set. But it's about whether or not their contract is going to be something that you can use properly, or is it going to be something that's going to make your team worse. And then, since we haven't been respecting that over the last 5 or 6 years, not respecting that going forward is irresponsible as well. And we just can't let that happen. You know what I mean? Enough. We get it. Clutch. Boom. Great. A lot of money. Wow. Love it. But look how bad we are, man. Like, let's just be real. Look how bad we are. It's embarrassing. You know what I mean? And we talk about a lot of parallels. As we were saying in the video earlier, if you're going to rig the game, you got to understand there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be smart enough to see that the game's rigged and it won't play. You know what I mean? And this goes the same way with that. You just got to understand that, you know, Laker fans are getting to a point where we're bad. You know what I mean? We're really, really bad. So you can't really sell us Anthony Davis and Bron James as anything other than something that's going to be bad if we don't have enough talent around them. And since you know you can't get them the right talent, it's not about if or when. You know you cannot. You got to take that information and do the right thing with it. You know, or suffer the consequences. You can, or don't. And watch your team further go into the ground. Watch these LeBron fans turn on you. And you're going to have half the arena booing you at home games. Like, that's exactly how it's going to go. Half the arena is going to be booing Laker fans at home games because they're going to want LeBron James freed from the situation. And we know he cannot be free from this situation. You know what I mean? So that's what Jeannie's facing. She's going to have a whole fan base of people that are going to be pissed at her, even more so than they are right now. And this is early. Christmas just ended. There's still a lot of season left. If losing continues, we continue to see small ball, it's going to get real ugly. People going to start showing up to the building for real. They just been talking about doing it, but they are this upset. They really are. They are this upset. They're not. Laker fans are not a bunch that's just gonna walk away from their team and just say, "Oh, this is fine. We're cool." That's not gonna happen. Clipper fans may, you know what I mean. This whole talk about the LA fan base and how we're front runners and all that. Laker fans are gonna turn away. They just don't care. Yeah, we can be indifferent about certain things. With the Lakers, probably not. Two teams they're not gonna be indifferent about: the Lakers and the Dodgers. They ain't gonna be indifferent about either one of them teams in LA. I don't care what the rest of the world feels about their teams. In the city, they don't play about them two teams at all. The Raiders too, if they were still here, honestly. But that's a little questionable. But at the same time, when it comes to the Lakers and the Dodgers, it's not. And you got to understand that if you're going to own those teams, if you're going to be GMing those teams or any of that, people are going to be talking to you and about you and around you if you're going to do it wrong. That's it. It's not going to fade away. You're not going to be able to just be bad every year and people just going to chill. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse because there's a lot of championship success, particularly with the Lakers past. And they ain't going to let that go. They're not. You know, and while we were going through the Sock Ray era, at least we knew we had a future. We could see the picks on the horizon and blah, blah, blah. If you keep selling people this superstar nonsense, you know, I'll say this. Not everybody's quick. Sometimes people need to see things a third and a fourth time to understand what has happened to them. I don't know. Maybe the Laker Nation needs a Zach LaVine contract to really understand how horrible all of this is. Then they will be, as a fan base, just overall smarter. I thought Westbrook would do that for us. I thought the AD situation would do that for us. But apparently there's still a great deal of people in this fan base who actually don't understand the importance of not anchoring themselves for years and years and years with a subpar contract. They don't understand how bad that they should not want that to be the case, and how that correlates to the bad players that you see on your team from year to year. You'll never have to see them dudes if you just don't do stuff like that. And so, as I say that 1.5 million times, it's up to Jeanie Buss to understand that, to choose that, and to give the Laker fans some hope that we'll have an opportunity to be current in the near future. You know what I mean? Instead of completely behind the league. You thought we were behind the league. Now we ain't gonna have no real talent if the Lakers stay on the path they're on. So that's what I see, man. And guys like Jabari Smith and LaMelo Ball and all these other guys, Zion, and all these different players that are coming into the league, they're going to start rounding in the form. They're going to be on contending teams. And the Lakers may be able to acquire those players if they give them top dollar. No bird rights. You understand what I'm saying? So by building around those players is going to be very limited. You're going to be leaning on those guys. I'm talking about 5 years down the road. We're not even talking about anything. No, we're talking about 5 years out. You're going to be leaning on those guys. You're going to be getting injured. You're going to be hoping they do something. They're going to be going up against the field. God knows who's going to be running the league at that time. Jason Tatum, maybe. Who knows? And this is going to be one of them situations where it's like, Lakers going to be subpar. They're going to be cool. Maybe we can be like the Sacramento Kings have been over the last several years. Washington Wizards. Our very own selves. We'll be that. Ain't got to look far for the mediocrity. We're that now. That's how we'll be for the next 5-6 years. On and off. Maybe make the playoffs here and there. But you ain't going to sniff a championship. It ain't going to happen. So I'm just letting people know exactly what I see down there. That's where we're headed. Or we can blow this thing up. Get our picks from that trade. Who knows how many we'll get. Enough. Whatever it'll be enough. We'll reset our team. We'll have our cap space. We'll get some contracts. Probably end up with a Zach LaVine any damn way. And then go forward and try to develop these kids that we get. Hopefully better than we did the last time, 7-8 years ago. Hopefully we're better kids. No disrespect to our guys, but we knew we needed better ones. And that's what it'll be about. Developing those kids and then trading the ones you need to trade to get better. And some people say, oh, that's not going to make us much better. Oh, that's not going to do it. Well, I'm telling you, if you don't do that, you're going to still suck. But you're not going to have the young talent. It's just going to be you getting them scraps from, like, you know, the equivalent of what we had last year all over our team. That's what you're going to get. You know, and probably 2 max contracts or 3 max contracts like we've been doing. That's it. And who will that be? Who's going to sign up for that after watching this era? Nobody's willing to win the championship. Nobody's going to run through a wall for the Lakers. Think about it. No, there's somebody who knows they're going to come here and lose. So what you think you're going to be watching? I'm telling you, man. Some of this stuff is just easy to see. It ain't that hard to tell. But, yeah, that's what Jeanie's signing up for if she continues to keep the people in place making decisions for her. And most importantly, if she allows them to pull the trigger on something like they're talking about doing. No, that can't happen. What you want is picks. That's what you want. Or young players, really good ones that can make your team solid while you wait for yourself to replenish picks over the next 5-6 years. So if that's a Zach LaVine or something like that, fine, whatever. I don't want it to be somebody like that personally. But if that's what it's going to take to get us to that point, then that's just what the Lakers are going to have to do. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. But what you don't do is bring Zach LaVine here with the intent of making him the 3rd star and then think you're going to win you a championship or sell that bull crap to us. Please. Don't do that. Don't do that. So that's what I got to say about it, man. That's what I got to say. Obviously, the rebuild is the only way. That's it. That is the only way. And the sooner the Lakers are able to pull that off, I think the better. Anthony Davis should be on the trade block as we speak. And there's another thing. I do not expect trade demands to take place. I don't think nobody's going to be demanding out. I think you're going to see either nothing happen with superstars or you're going to see them just traded overnight. That's exactly what I expect. Because KD taught us all a lesson. You effectively tank your ability to be moved if you demand a trade because everybody knows now your team is desperate to move you. So essentially, if you're saying you want to be traded, you're actually moving in a way that doesn't allow you to get out of there. So it stands to reason if they learn from what they just saw, a superstar will secretly, very, very secretly, make his trade request, and then they will execute that trade, and you will be blown away by it. That's the only way they need to. That's the only way they play it now. Think about it. It's the only way to play it. Everybody been doing it wrong, and KD showed us exactly how bad it goes when it's the extreme version of doing it wrong. So they ain't gonna let that happen again. So I don't know who would be traded. Like I said, nothing is probably more likely to happen with superstars. But if one does get moved, they're gonna have to keep that from ESPN. That's my thing. They're gonna have to keep the rumors of that out of the media if they want to effectively let it happen. And I think there would be some superstars that may be looking to move. So be aware of the possibility of the blockbuster trade that comes out of nowhere with a massive name attached to it, going God knows where, with a bunch of pieces moving with him. Because that is the environment we're in right now. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.